Hello guys, welcome to my first video on my plants. So I wanted to talk today about the Venus flytraps because so far they've probably been the biggest hit just because, well, they're really cool plants. So what I'm gonna do is kind of talk a little about their history, talk about where they come from and how they work, and we're gonna kind of take a look at these guys so you can really understand the different parts of these plants. So let's take it from the top. So if you were looking for a fly trap in the wild, the only places that you can find them where they grow naturally are in North and South Carolina. So they only grow in a very small amount of space, and they are considered an endangered, vulnerable species. So something that's really interesting about Venus flytraps is that they actually rely really heavily on fires to be able to continue existing. So with these plants, in the very center here, underneath, basically kind of under the soil where all of this connects up, is what's called a rhizome. So that is what basically kind of is like the nerve center of the plant. So as you can see from looking at these guys, looking at this one and looking at this guy as well, they're all they're low to the ground, they're low to their soil. They don't grow super tall. So what happens is they've got to figure out how they are going to get their sunlight, because these are plants that want full sun. As we can kind of take a peek and see, I've got them under a nice bright light, and that is how they thrive. So these plants, if you're going to find them in the wild, rely on forest fires to burn away all of the plants that are overtaking them and making it so they can't get access to the sun so they can keep growing. Now, you don't get as many fires these days as there was when they were kind of allowed to grow naturally, so it's harder for them to grow. It also doesn't help too that people keep taking all of their growing space. So they only grow in really like boggy, marshy, kind of wet lands with soil that is not particularly nutrient rich, because whatever nutrition it doesn't get from the soil, it makes up for it by eating bugs. Pretty cool, right? And it's actually illegal. If you were to find one of these in the wild in North Carolina, if you pulled it out of the ground, that is illegal. They will not like that. Do not do that. So they've actually got a pretty cool history too. They were first kind of mentioned in writing around the about 1760s, referred to as the great wonder of the vegetable world. And when early botanists, so people who study plants, first studied these guys, they didn't understand how they ate their bugs. It just didn't make sense for what they knew about plants. So what they decided had to be the answer was that the bugs, when it rains, these traps, they just close to keep the bugs safe. So not quite the case, because this actually eats bugs. And they're actually considered the carnivorous state plant of North Carolina. So they are all official and everything. So we're gonna take a look here at sort of this diagram that breaks down the parts of the plant, and I'm gonna kind of show you on my plants what we're looking at. So we don't have the flowers because that's something that pops up when it's trying to pollinate. So when it's trying to convince, bees and other plants that can pick up their pollen to carry it elsewhere and to grow more fly traps. So personally, I think in the center here, there's a little tiny stump, and I'm excited to see if a flower pops up there sometime. I think that'd be pretty fun. So we don't really worry about the flowers, the flower stalk. That's no big deal. So the rhizome is one that we can't see. So the rhizome, as you can see kind of on here, it's this little sort of bundle that sits underneath the soil. So underneath here in this area, and same thing it would be on this guy, kind of under the center here is the rhizome. So that's kind of the powerhouse of the plant. That's where it stores its energy and everything that it needs to keep growing and keep surviving. So when all of this dies off, when winter comes, that rhizome is what keeps the energy for it to keep growing. So if we look at these young traps, so that is what, turn this, that would be this guy right here. So as you can see, what's so cool about these traps, so I've got one growing out there and I've got one growing out there too. And then also over on this one, so turn this around so we can kind of see it. So we've got a little baby one right there that's growing in. And I've got another little baby one that's coming out right there. So when they start coming out like that, they're real tightly closed up and folded over. And then as they start to come out more, they start to unfold and then expand out and become the traps. So for example, this guy right here, this one just opened up. So it's brand new trapped, all nice and big, ready to eat some bugs. So as my plant keeps growing, my traps keep getting bigger, which is very fun. So same thing on this one. It started out tightly curled up. This is gonna come back and then it's gonna open up into a full trap like these guys. So next, we have the actual components of the trap themselves. So we'll look kind of on this one because it's easiest to see. We can look on the little one too, but so if we look on the inside of the trap there, there's those teeny tiny little hairs. So those are the trigger hairs. Those are what actually trigger the fly trap to close and to catch its prey. So all these outside teeth, their purpose is when this trap closes up, make sure it closes up tight, they kind of interlock across each other, and then the prey can't get out. So they're kind of the backup. And then those little tiny teeth on the inside, those are the guys that actually kind of do the work to tell the plant, hey, there's a bug in here. We're gonna close and we're gonna eat it. So these plants are super smart because what they figured out is that those little teeth are their indicator. So we can see them real good on this guy too. You can see those little teeth. And actually, I've got a trap over here that I'm waiting to open back up because it's been fed and it's about done eating. So it should be opening sometime soon. But if you look at those little teeth, they basically require that multiple little teeth need to be triggered within about a couple seconds of each other. And that is what tells the plant that, hey, we've got a live insect in here, we should get this, we should eat this, and not that, you know, it's rain or wind or dust or something like that. So like I'm able to take a little bit of air and blow and clean these little guys up and they're totally fine, which is really cool. So when I feed them, because I feed them with dead bugs, what I have to do is when I place it in those traps, I have to kind of wiggle it a little bit to trigger those teeth so that I kind of trick the plants into thinking that there's a live bug in there. So as we can actually see, this trap, this one right here, just opened back up all the way today. It had a bug in it, and what's really fun, we'll see if I can find it here. There we go, is there's a little bug carcass, and that is all that's left of the bug that came out of it today. So what these plants do, which is super cool, is they basically eat everything they can out of the plants and out of those bugs. They eat basically all the soft squishy bits and then they leave behind that hard exoskeleton that they can't digest. So if it's a plant, so like this trap over here, when it opens back up, it'll probably open back up and drop the bug out. But if not, I'll just have to take it out a little bit and help it out. So what's really cool is when they go to catch a bug, the trap closes up super tight and it almost forms like a little stomach in there. So basically a bug gets caught, it starts to digest it, and then when it's got everything out, it'll open back up and spit the remains out. So you can see it's still closed really tight, it's still digesting, and it's still finishing its dinner. So hopefully sometime soon it'll be done. Also, since I've got a new baby growing in here, it's gotta move over a little bit. So this is kind of a first look at my fly traps. I'm gonna feed them sometime soon, so I'll get a video of that too, because I know that'll be really fun. But they grow a bunch of traps, and they're pretty easy. They take a lot of light and some distilled water, because they're very, very, very picky about their water. And so this is a variety called Red Dragon. And then this is a more classic. This one's a little baby still too. This one's got a lot of growing to do. But, you know, just in the way that all people look different and come in different shapes and sizes and colors, same thing happens with the fly traps. You got all sorts of different varieties that people have grown in their own greenhouses, and different mixes and types of plants, and you end up with all sorts of different varieties. So I hope you guys enjoyed taking a peek. Let me know what questions you have and things that you want to learn about and things you're curious about when it comes to these guys or any of the other plants. And I look forward to teaching you more about them. This is a lot of fun, and I'm excited to share something I'm excited about. So hope you guys enjoyed.